This woman has been here before. She's super hilarious. She's gonna sing some songs, and she's from Sacramento. She has her own TV show in Sacramento, which is awesome. We've seen her before. Let's get a big welcome for Connie Bryan. Connie Bryan, let's hear it for her. Yeah!
Thank you, Tommy. Oh man, I'm so excited to be back here at City of Angels. You think this mic stands tall enough for me? And Tommy's talking about bad drivers. What about these fucking driverless cars? Have you seen these pieces of shit? I almost didn't make it. I got cut off by one of those driverless Teslas over there on Sunset Boulevard. And these things are just like, they're Elon Musk's AI death machine. And I call them communism on the road because they're un-American. There's nobody to flip off when they cut you off. There's nobody to get in a fight with on the side of the road. I still ended up on the side of the road tonight, though, on my way, because I had to at least pull over and tweet Elon Musk, 15 pictures of my middle finger. It doesn't have the same effect when there's that delay. You have to tweet the person that made the car. By the way, do you guys have any idea how hard it is to take a selfie of both of your middle fingers while you're holding the phone? So I just hope he appreciates the effort. I'd like to begin tonight with my parody of Katy Perry's big hit, Roar. Any Katy Perry fans, by the way? Anybody know? All right. I don't know if you know this, but she recently rewrote the lyrics to that big hit of hers, Roar, in order to raise awareness about a chronic condition she suffers from called sleep apnea. Have you heard of this? It almost destroyed her relationship, and so she actually rewrote the lyrics. I'm going to pick it up from the chorus for you, okay? Here we go. 'Cause I got the eye of the tiger, I'm stealing the covers, don't want to hear any mention, 'cause if you want any action, then you're gonna hear me snore. Louder than ever before. If you don't like it, you can go sleep on the fucking floor. But don't forget to shut the fucking door, or else you're still gonna hear me snore. About to get real now, at Trump's expense, as I debut my newest Lady Gaga parody for you guys. Last time I was here, I did Bad Bromance for you, but I'm about to debut my newest one to her huge hit, actually one of her newest big hits, Abracadabra. I'm going to be doing my version, MAGA Cadabra. Let me just set it up by saying right now it's undeniable. The whole world is in shock as we watch the fucked up, serious karma that Trump and his MAGA Christian cult base have created for themselves. There's no escaping it. The writing's all over the White House wall. You don't want to be anywhere near these people with the bad karma they've created for themselves, what's coming their way, especially in the wake of this recent murder of Renee. And so I'm going to go ahead and debut this song for you. Notice I'm playing it for the first time. MAGA Cadabra, karma's coming to grab ya. MAGA Cadabra, even Jesus can't save ya. MAGA Cadabra, karma's coming to grab ya. MAGA Cadabra, even Jesus can't save ya. MAGA Cadabra, karma's coming to grab ya. And in her tongue she says, fuck around and find out tonight. You like to act like you're a gangster with your little mushroom dick and orange hair. You like to hide inside Mar-a-Lago, bombing countries who don't pay their share. You pissed off all your guardian angels. Now even the demons have become enraged. You were besties with the devil, but but now he blocks you on his Facebook page. Save us in this noble fight from the closet gays on the Christian right. And all the prostitutes on Fox News every night. Such an evil sight. They're covering up all the Epstein files to protect their billionaire pedophiles. And now the writing's all over the White House bathroom stall. And Elon tweeted it all. Remember that? Remember when Elon tweeted it all and Trump was all over the Epstein files? Like a poem said by a lady in red, even Satan's had enough of your lies. Made your own bed, and now that Epstein's dead, Lady Karma's coming for you tonight. Cadabra, Karma's coming to grab ya. Cadabra, even Jesus can't save you. One more time. Karma's coming to grab ya. Cadabra, even Jesus can't save you. Cadabra, Karma's coming to grab ya. And the whole world says, fuck around and find out tonight.
Have you ever had a personal relationship with Donald Trump?
What do you mean by personal relationships?
Have you socialized with him?
Yes, sir.
Yes?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever socialized with Donald Trump in the presence of females under the age of 18?
Though I'd like to answer that question, at least today, I'm going to have to assert my 5th, 6th, and 14th Amendment rights, sir.
You're going up the escalator? I'm going to be dating her in 10 years. Can you believe it?
Ivanka, what's the favorite thing you have in common with your father?
Either real estate or golf.
Donald, with your daughter?
Well, I was going to say sex, but I can't relate that part. Although she does have a very nice figure. I've said that if Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her. You know? I'll go backstage before a show. Yes. And everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And, you know, no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. You know, I'm inspecting. I want to make sure that
like
everything is good. You're there. Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? You know, they're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible-looking women, and so I sort of get away with things like that.
Well, isn't that special? We're not the 50 states of America anymore. We're now the 5150 states of America. We're now the white nationalist, billionaire, pussy-grabbing 5150 states of America. And what is it that Republicans love to run around calling themselves? Oh yeah, the Christian Family Values Party. I think I have to call bullshit on that. Forgive me, Jesus, but it's the only word that applies here other than, I don't know, maybe hypocrite. Let me see if I have this straight. All you MAGA Republicans heard all the pro-Putin, immoral, corrupt, dishonest, racist, misogynist, xenophobic, sexist crap coming out of Donald Trump's mouth on a daily basis the first time around. And all you moral Christians said to yourselves, you know, honey, I probably wouldn't buy a used Chevy from that man, but he's clearly one of us. So let's reelect him to the highest office of the land. The Christian Family Values Party. Let's see. Is grabbing women by the pussy anytime you feel like it? Saying, I can grab them by the pussy because I'm a star? Is that a Christian family value? How about paying off multiple porn stars to hide sexual affairs from your wife and the rest of the country just to get elected president? Is that a Christian family value? How about sexualizing your own daughter? Saying, if Ivanka wasn't my daughter, I'd definitely be dating her. Or in another interview with Ivanka sitting right next to him, when asked the question, what's the biggest shared value you both have in common, what did we all hear Donald Trump say? Probably sex. Is that a Christian family value? Or how about separating little children from their immigrant families at the f***ing border? Forgive me, Jesus. Is that a Christian family value? The whole world heard and saw all these things coming out of Donald Trump's ass, and which party couldn't get to the polls fast enough to re-elect this orange con artist? If you said the Republican Christian Family Values Party, well, ding-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling-a-ling, we have a winner. More like the Jeffrey Epstein Values Party, if you ask me. Actually, no, right now the Republican values are even lower than Epstein's, but they do sound like someone else's values. Who could it be? I don't know. Could it be Satan's values? To just sum it up here, we have the wrong leaders in power. And we the people, okay, all of us who are not the Epstein class, the 99% of we the people, common folk, we have to replace the Epstein class as quickly as possible. We the people have to go rogue. We have to go rogue and stop letting this corporate monopoly, international organized crime Epstein class choose the two presidential candidates that they lie to us and tell us that we're electing. Because we're not. We have to end that. They're the ones that are picking them and fooling us into telling us that we voted for them and that we chose one. It's all predetermined by these a-holes. And Trump, whether it be Trump or Biden or Kamala, or whether it be Clinton, whether it would have been Hillary, they all are pre-selected because they're going to serve the interests of the Epstein class. That's what we have to end. We have to wake up and realize we have to end that once and for all. We have to end their sick, violent, war-prone, male-oriented, patriarchal, Judeo-Christian, Zionist-oriented leadership. It's motivated by bigoted, divisive, we are the chosen ones faiths. And we have to quickly replace that with more of a matriarchal, feminine system of leadership based on the much stronger healing, nurturing, compromising feminine strengths. Femininity is strength. It's the kind of strength the world needs, the nurturing, healing, compromising, coming together, motherly, loving, caring strengths, uniting strengths, not warmongering, testosterone-driven, violent, whose dick is bigger than the other's strength. This has been the problem for way too long now that we have to replace. We need more healing, matriarchal leadership in world power. Welcome to the big show. I'm Connie Bryan, and you're watching the one and only Connie Bryan Show. And boy, do I have another big blockbuster broadcast in store for you tonight, as always. Stuff is about to get real, as always. But as you know, this is always the part of the program where I like to welcome all of our viewers in our respective markets across the country. I'm so proud that we've grown the show now to over 20 markets nationwide, coast to coast. So, of course, let's begin with our hometown audience. Thank you to everyone tuning in here in Sacramento, in the capital of California, and our sister city right next door, Davis. Thank you so much for watching. Now, moving a little bit over, let's go first to Truckee. Welcome to everyone tuning in Truckee, Tahoe. And then moving over closer toward the Bay Area. Welcome to everyone tuning in Wine Country in Napa Valley. And in the actual Bay Area, welcome to all of you tuning in Berkeley and in San Francisco, and everyone watching in San Jose at Create TV. Thank you for tuning into the show. In Southern California, we have a couple of markets. We want to first of all welcome all of our viewers in Long Beach and the LA area, and a quick thank you to Long Beach for doing a member spotlight on the Connie Bryan Show. Also, thank you to all of you watching in Santa Cruz and Gilroy. And moving outside of California, welcome to everyone tuning in Oregon. We have 2 markets there. Welcome to everyone watching in Portland at Open Signal, and all of you tuning in Beaverton, Oregon. And then moving to the center of the country, welcome to everyone watching in Denver, Colorado. And then on the East Coast, we have several markets starting at the southernmost point. Welcome to everyone watching in Salisbury, Maryland. And everyone watching in one of our longest standing markets, Salem, Massachusetts. Thank you for tuning into the show. And moving up to one of our newer markets, welcome to everyone watching in Manhattan and also Staten Island, New York. Thank you for watching. And then a little further northward, welcome to everyone watching in Stratford, Connecticut. And also, last but not least, everyone tuning in the Falls area of Vermont, which would be Keene Station and Bellows Falls. I don't think I left anyone out. And wherever you are, worldwide on the web, thanks for tuning into the Connie Bryan Show, where you know I bring you the news and the information that you don't get in the Epstein class-owned mainstream media. Completely controlled by the corrupt powers that be that we're calling out here. And we are really going to get down into it tonight, big time. You are not going to want to miss this show. The title of this episode is called Time to Start Calling YouTube by Their Real Name, CIA Tube. And the subtitle is Video Streaming and Social Media, Now Project Mockingbird on Steroids. Now, I've told you in previous episodes about Project Mockingbird and how it was revealed back when this was declassified. I believe it was declassified around the mid-70s. It was revealed that the CIA had embedded itself and was controlling all of our mainstream news. So my subtitle here is now Project Mockingbird has gone on steroids in video streaming and social media. And the biggest one of those, of course, being YouTube. And that's got a lot to do with why yours truly has been so shadow banned, while so many preferred narrative content is amplified. And a lot of that is paid influencers. And a lot of that now we're seeing signs of being absolutely connected with CIA promotion and actual people coming on advertising themselves as being, former CIA. And, you're not supposed to think that they're following a certain narrative. You're just supposed to think they can just now come clean about the secret stuff that, from their experience in the CIA, and all of that is just propaganda. They've got permission and they've got a script that they're being given. And it's like, a lot of people don't know this. A lot of people don't realize it. So we're going to really hammer that tonight. But first of all, let us never forget the degree to which Donald Trump has perverted the office of President of the United States when he recently, as Commander-in-Chief of what is still considered, we are still considered to be the most powerful military in the world, Donald Trump declared that he was going to end Iran's entire civilization overnight. Now, in a recent April 6, 2026 article in the Financial Times, Washington, D.C. reporter Steph Chavez wrote the following: Donald Trump claimed that U.S. strikes on Iran's civilian infrastructure would not be a war crime. Are you ready for this? He said, would not be a war crime. Strikes on Iran's civilian infrastructure would not be a war crime because they are animals. Trump was quoted by the Financial Times saying that. Okay, and like I said, we all know he said he was going to end Iran's entire civilization overnight. He made that threat. Let's also not forget Trump's similar profanity-laced slur toward Iran in his Truth Social post on Easter Sunday, no less, in which Trump said, "Open the effing straight, you crazy bastards, or you'll be living in hell. Just watch." And in yet another similar threat, our commander-in-chief telling the Iranian civilization that they would be bombed back to the Stone Ages. Now, Trump, being the former host of the well-known reality show The Apprentice, he knows very well that he is being handled by powerful donors and Epstein-class billionaires who pull the strings for CIA and U.S. intelligence. And Trump is keenly aware that he is merely an apprentice of theirs. And Trump, if you're not keenly aware, I'm here to remind you and wake you up to that fact. You're just an apprentice of the Epstein class, but I'm certain you're well aware of that by now. You are just performing as a front man in their very deadly and criminally corrupt global reality show. And what has apparently not yet dawned on Donald Trump is how his powerful Epstein-class handlers right now appear to be writing the final script for him that will ultimately result in Trump hearing those condescending words directed toward him. "You're fired. You're fired." And those condescending words directed toward him are going to come from not just the Democrat left. I got news for you, Trump. They're going to come from a nationwide chorus of voices on both sides of the political aisle, to include a growing majority of your own MAGA base. Now, as I begin to explain more and more to my readers and my viewers, readers of my books and my Substack, the Connie Bryan Show.substack.com, and viewers of the Connie Bryan Show, about the one path we must take to finally take our country back. It's critical to remember that there is a lot more. I want you to get this. This is so important. This is what I write about on Substack in the article I asked you to go and find on Substack, on my Substack channel, entitled The Great Compromise. Because I've got the playbook. There's only one way we're going to be able to take our country back, and I call it the Great Compromise. It's critical for everyone to remember, fundamental to what we're going to have to do, is that there is a lot more that Americans on both sides of the political aisle agree on than what we disagree on. And one of those things the vast majority of Americans agree on is, Trump, you don't get to remain president of the United States after you threaten nuclear annihilation of an entire civilization of people who didn't attack us. You don't get to remain in the office of president after acting like an a-hole like that. And Trump, if you haven't already realized it, let this be your wake-up call. Your impeachment and removal from office will commence immediately after the midterms of 2026 with a significant amount of support from your own MAGA base, like I said. And most likely, article number 1 of those impeachment proceedings will be your morally reprehensible threats from the office of president to destroy Iran's entire civilization when they had not attacked us and were not even a nuclear armed nation. You know, and the problem I have with Trump and all of this corruption and how he's handled this war on Iran is he wants to claim that a huge part of the reason he wanted to do it was for the freedom of the Iranian people, and yet he makes these threats. First, he bombs a girls' school. There were a few boys too, but 100 and something like 160, 170 little girls and some boys and their teachers. Not even, I found out now, I told you guys that it was a double tap with 2 missile strikes of Tomahawks. Now we find out it was a triple tap of that school. But he wants to claim that, you know, this is about freedom for the Iranian people, while he picks targets, authorizes targets with this military action that are causing untold civilian casualties, and then threatens to destroy their whole civilization. That's not because you care about liberating the people of Iran. There's a way to go about this when the corrupt regime of Iran was killing tens of thousands of their population who were simply, you know, rallying and protesting, wanting democratic revolution. And then we find out that they massacred and killed them, executed tens of thousands, something like 45 or 50,000. Well, there's a way to go about, you know, taking military action and having the high moral ground and getting support from the United Nations and our allies to do it. That's not at all what happened here. This is all because Trump is controlled by the Zionist Israeli lobby. They've got blackmail on him, and they're pulling his strings. His handlers are pulling his strings, and we, the people, are going to have to make it stop. I said that would be the first article of impeachment, probably once we take control of Congress in 2026, and impeachment inevitably will be beginning of Trump. That would be only one article of many to hold him accountable for his mind-blowing abuse of office, including but not limited to so many areas where Trump and his family have sought to personally profit from the office of president in direct violation of the U.S. Constitution's Emoluments Clause, which specifically prohibits such personal gain from political office. Now, this next point I want to make is very important. As we prepare and move forward with Trump's impeachment and removal from office in order to begin the long process of taking our country back from this criminally corrupt Epstein class who have placed him there in that office to do their bidding, we must also include and impeach others in Trump's administration who are in his immediate line of succession, who have also been placed in those positions to do the bidding of the Epstein class. They're not there by accident. They're not there just because Trump wanted them there. Everybody in his administration is going to be carefully handcrafted by Trump's handlers, especially his Israeli Zionist handlers. So we also are going to have to impeach those who have been entirely complicit in all of Donald Trump's abuse of power. It's not just him we need to impeach. It doesn't do us any good. It doesn't do us any good at all to merely impeach Trump. Don't forget that. You'll hear people more and more talking about, we've got to impeach Trump. You've got to remind them, not just him. I mean, if all we're going to get by doing so is J.D. Vance replacing him, come on. I've detailed for you in the past on my show how J.D. Vance is only where he is because he isn't admitted. He's admitted this. Everybody knows, it's well reported and documented. He is an admitted protege of big tech billionaire, Palantir founder, and PayPal mafia partner Peter Thiel, who brought J.D. Vance out of nowhere, funding his rise to become a senator, after which the Epstein class placed J.D. Vance on the 2024 ticket as Trump's VP out of nowhere because he's one of their shills. And also, as I've covered in detail in the past, Peter Thiel is a well-known follower and advocate of the very disturbing corrupt dark enlightenment agenda, which is a philosophy that has been popularized recently by Silicon Valley tech guru Curtis Yarvin. I talked extensively about that on a previous episode. The dark enlightenment that Yarvin advocates and that Peter Thiel is a huge follower of calls for an end to American democracy, calls for an end to democracy worldwide in general, calls for an end to nation states. And guess what they want to replace that they say has to replace that? They want it to all be replaced by a global corporate dictatorship, a global corporate monarchy, if you will, end to all nation states, with all global government and population being governed by big tech corporate elites in a highly surveilled corporate technocracy, which is what Palantir is designed to ensure happens. It's all about high-tech AI weapons, and those weaponry being able to actually be implemented autonomously using AI instead of just being done by a human being, decisions made by algorithms, very disturbing that we have to stop. And Palantir is also designed for complete panopticon, absolute surveillance, and creating profiles on every American where they label you as whether they think that you're subversive or not, whether or not you adhere to their preferred narrative of what's considered a good American or not, a good citizen. If you're serving the corporate elite, but if you step outside of their particular parameters of what they consider acceptable, they want to try to say that you are a threat, which is total bullshit. Anyway, so that's what Palantir is designed to do, and it was used a great deal in the genocidal warmongering by Israel. It is clear that big tech billionaire titans like Peter Thiel, who are also very intimately aligned with the Israeli lobby and Benjamin Netanyahu, it is very clear that they are eager to get a new generation shill like J.D. Vance into the position of president. That's why they put him in on the ticket like they did out of nowhere. Now, that being the case, we the people have to make sure that that doesn't happen. And we have to do that as we go about taking our country back from them in the way in which I've begun to detail in, like I said, in one of my recent articles on Substack entitled The Great Compromise. As we do that, we have to, when we start impeachment proceedings, we have to impeach multiple individuals in the Trump administration who are shills trying to implement that dark enlightenment agenda for the Epstein class. Now, it's also critically important for you to understand that the Epstein class is actually made up of at least two factions, both of whom have long ago compromised and blackmailed Donald Trump, along with many other high-profile individuals who are currently being actively protected from prosecution in the Epstein files. These two factions long ago, two different factions, not just Israel, compromised Trump. Number one, Israeli intelligence and the Mossad. Okay, that's one of the factions of the Epstein class handlers controlling Trump. Equally controlling Trump are also Vladimir Putin and Russian intelligence for a very long time. I covered the evidence about that in a two-part series of the Connie Bryan Show several months back, which you can find in the show archives. Just look for the title, Evidence, I believe the title was something like Evidence Trump is a Russian Asset. Evidence that points to Trump being a Russian asset. There has also been some fantastic journalistic reporting. A lot of what I talk about, and by the way, I write about it a lot in my book, which I want to show you. This is an actual copy of my new book, my second book, Change. Okay, so if you want to support me Okay, this is a big way that you can support me. My 2 books, Change and Holy Libel. You can't afford not to have a copy, and they're very affordable. You can't afford not to have a copy of these books because of the powerful, eye-opening information that they contain. You won't find as succinctly delivered, as entertainingly delivered, if I might say. You won't find anything more eye-opening and helpful in bringing healing than the content that I bring in these 2 books. They're not too long. They're very easily read. They're very easy to read. And so I just want to say, I could use a few more reviews for the books on Amazon. And I talk a lot about this particular topic in one of the chapters. And basically, Change is like my show in book form, and it covers just a large number of topics very succinctly that will help you really get your head around what we need to do to bring change in order for we the people to take control back from this corrupt power elite Epstein class that has just been destroying democracy and destroying true capitalism for the last 100 years or longer. Capitalism is not bad. Free market capitalism, as it was intended by our foremothers and forefathers, and I write a lot about this in the book. I've talked about it a lot on the show. Capitalism, free market capitalism that our foremothers and forefathers intended was meant for us to achieve the American dream. And it's been completely attacked and almost destroyed by the predatory version now that corporations have been allowed to bring, that we properly should refer to as, and that I've been using for decades before most people use it today. I started using it back when I had my talk radio show back in Florida. I was using the term to describe it as being corporatism. Okay, so that's what we're dealing with, that we have to change, and I write about that a lot in the book. Like I said, a lot of topics are being covered, and a lot of fun stuff too. I've got a couple of chapters of my stand-up, some of which I haven't even performed yet. So you're going to love the book. Anyway, so I'm covering those topics, including where I was at here was the evidence that points to, that indicates there's a high chance that Trump is a Russian asset. And I get a lot of source material from some fantastic journalism and fantastic reporting on this topic by both Whitney Webb in her 2-volume tome entitled One Nation Under Blackmail, and also from Craig Unger in his powerfully revealing book, American Compromat. So if you haven't, check those out too. But in my 2-part series of the Connie Bryan Show, where I talked about the powerful evidence pointing to Trump being compromised by Russia, I'm detailing how not one, but 2 former KGB agents who defected to the United States became whistleblowers at great risk to their lives to reveal how Putin and the KGB targeted and recruited Donald Trump when he was a deeply indebted businessman back in the mid-'80s, allegedly using, I'm going to make sure I put that word in there, allegedly using him to launder untold millions of dollars of Russian mob money through Trump's various real estate companies, developing very corrupt compromat, which is another word, it's actually a Russian word for blackmail, on Trump in the process, and actively sought, not just to do that with him, but actively sought to help elevate him to the office of President of the United States. And they have used that compromat blackmail on him to control him ever since. And of course, more and more with what we're seeing coming out in a slow drip, drip, drip from the Epstein files, it is clear that the other faction, because I told you there's 2, the other faction of the deep state Epstein class, that being the Zionist lobby of Israel and Israeli intelligence, Mossad, have also accomplished that very same goal of total compromat and control of Trump in the White House. And now that I've laid that groundwork for you, it's time we Start calling YouTube by its real name, CIA Tube. Or if you choose, maybe we could go with Mossad Tube, but I feel like CIA Tube is a little more catchy. You could go with Mossad Tube because CIA long ago was compromised by the Greater Israel Project Zionist lobby. So CIA and Mossad at this point are almost one and the same. I mean, it's like, the expression, it's almost a distinction without a difference. When you go on YouTube thinking you're finding mainly independent journalism and, thinking that you are somehow getting an alternative news source that is not controlled by the Epstein class owned mainstream news, you need to think again. YouTube is now CIA, Mossad, Russian intel central casting. They are, of course, actually Google. I'm sure most of you knew that. Maybe some out there didn't, though. YouTube is actually Google. And they are now almost entirely pushing AI, carefully crafted, curated content to your feed that is based on a personal profile that they've created on you as a user. And they know based on that profile, that what they're presenting to you in your feed will best control and influence your perception. They're getting to be masters at this. It's all based on a personal profile from the extensive and ongoing trove of your personal data that they have collected and developed on every user. And you gave them permission to do that. Did you know it? You gave them permission to do that when you didn't read their terms of use, where in the fine print, it actually says that you give them permission to collect and use all of your personal data. Okay? And that is how they go about creating that profile that they use to curate the content they put in your feed. They see what you're interested in and they develop the profile. And the whole idea is for them to kind of craft your perception in the way you think, the way they want to. Now, just like on previous episodes when I informed you about Project Mockingbird and how the declassification of that CIA operation revealed that the content of all of our mainstream broadcast news media was compromised and controlled by embedded CIA assets for many decades, you need to now amplify that by 1,000. Amplify it exponentially, and you can then begin to comprehend the current situation we are dealing with right now regarding YouTube. But it's not just CIA Tube. You need to also understand it's all of the popular streaming and social media platforms. It's not limited to just YouTube, CIA Tube. We're talking about Rumble, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, and TikTok, just to name a few of the big players that have become the new ground central for both U.S. and foreign intelligence propaganda, amplifying and prioritizing mainly paid influencers who are U.S. and foreign intelligence carefully scripted assets. Okay? So it's just, that's part of the reason why yours truly is so shadow banned, because what they do is anyone who's really exposing truth to, using truth to power, bringing truth to power content and exposing the corruption of the Epstein class, anyone who's really truly being effective at that, they're not happy with. Okay, what they want is the ones that they give a specific script to. Okay, these factions that pay them very well. These paid influencers are getting tons of money, and also so is CIA too, from these factions that control these paid influencers, that you watching think that they're just independent news sources. By the way, some of you may recall several months to a year or so back when some of the most popular right-wing MAGA podcast influencers on CIA Tube, on Facebook, on Twitter X, on Rumble, on Instagram, and TikTok were targeted by an FBI DOJ investigation that revealed that they were taking several $1,000s a month from Putin Russian intelligence adjacent, let me just say that, from Putin Russian intelligence adjacent organizations, basically making them what I like to call a proxy for RT, a proxy for Russian television. And they all, as you would expect, hid behind an excuse that they didn't realize, they didn't know the Russian intel connection to the money they were being offered in order to deliver that very Russian-friendly talking points material that they eagerly agreed to do regularly and insert into their show's daily content. So in closing, let me just share one example that appears to have all the potential earmarks of such Russian intelligence adjacent paid influencer content. And by the way, just in sharing this example, I will say that I don't know for sure if Scott Ritter is receiving such paid influencer funding. I don't know that absolutely for sure if he is. But I tell you what, how about I do this? How about I take a rare page from something another very notorious and often accused paid influencer, Alex Jones, is fond of saying? It's hard to do Alex Jones's voice, but cause it's kind of real gravelly, But he's fond of saying it like this: if I had to cast a paid Russian influencer for a Hollywood movie, I'd cast him for the role. Yeah. So I don't know for sure about Scott Ritter, but if I had to cast a paid Russian influencer for the role in a Hollywood movie, I'd cast him. And it wasn't just this episode that I'm going to use as an example. It's every day, multiple different podcasts a day on CIA Tube where Scott Ritter and other similar sounding admitted former U.S. intelligence and CIA agents, you may have seen John Kiriakou, Andrew Bustamante, who else? Is it Ray McGovern? Or his last name's McGovern. Former high-ranking U.S. military officers routinely make the rounds. You'll see some of them. Let's see what. McGregor, Colonel McGregor. Who else? Wilkerson, Colonel Wilkerson. And you've got, did I leave out Larry Johnson, who advertises himself as former CIA analyst? And these people every day, multiple different podcasts a day, you'll see them with this similar sounding. It sounds like it's a script coming from Russian television. And on this particular recent episode that led me to feel compelled more than usual to call Ritter out in the comments section, it was because, as usual, he angrily began attacking our allies in Britain and Europe. Angrily. In the very same fashion as often you will hear other influencers, like I said, delivering their apparent Putin-approved PSYOPs narrative, saying things like NATO is nothing but a paper tiger and NATO is dead. All of this is just Russian propaganda that they're saying, and these are former military high-ranking officers advertising themselves as such, saying these things. How are they getting away with it without being investigated? So on this particular podcast episode, Scott Ritter, a former United States Marine Corps intelligence officer, began angrily insisting to the host that Europe, i.e. NATO, get this, you're not going to believe it, but he angrily says to the host that Europe is a rabid dog that needs to be put down. And if that wasn't enough, when the host referred to extremely disturbing recent threats from Russia to possibly use nuclear weapons on Europe, and when the host asked the natural question, the understandable question, are they really that crazy? Scott Ritter, appearing very irritated by such a fair question, he shoots back to the host, who's that crazy? To which the host answered that he's talking about Russia recently threatening to annihilate all of Europe if there was any kind of major attack, non-nuclear, on one of their cities during this unfortunate ongoing war with Ukraine. That was the context that the host was describing. And then Ritter, even more oddly, began to sing the praises of Russia and such a nuclear threat. What the? He first complimented and referred to some popular Russian great thinker who he proudly said that he had recently interviewed, after which he expressed zero criticism toward. But on the contrary, Ritter began to sound like he was one of this Russian great thinker's biggest supporters, who, by the way, he said was going around, I hope you're sitting down for this one. Ritter says he's going around pushing a talking point that Russia should consider a preemptive nuclear attack on all of Europe. This great thinker he was praising. This is an effing former U.S. Marine intelligence officer. Ritter then continued to sing Russia's praises, exclaiming that Russia's not weak and that he knows how wonderful Russia is because he's been there. Of course you have, Ritter. I wouldn't be surprised that you've been to Russia. Now listen, if he is, and I stress the word if, Ritter is a paid proxy for RT, like I like to say, as many are who talk like this on both the left and the right-leaning podcasts, by the way. Just like the Zionist Israeli lobby admittedly has a long-standing practice of inviting politicians and paid influencers who they want to indoctrinate, they invite them to come to Israel, all expenses paid. These are the people that they are paid influencers of and control, as donors, as political donors. They expect them to come to Israel for some indoctrination. Well, I would think that would be common practice for Putin in Russia and Russian intelligence as well. Wouldn't you? So it doesn't surprise me that Ritter said, I've been there. I know how wonderful Russia is. Finally, Ritter went out of his way to refuse to criticize such a nuclear threat from Russia toward our American allies in Europe, telling the host of the episode that Russia is not crazy for making such a threat. Yes, they are. And he says that they will absolutely annihilate all of Europe if there is a European NATO attack on one of their cities. And if that wasn't enough, coming from, like I said, a former high-ranking U.S. Marine Corps intelligence officer, Ritter went so far as to say that he knew that Europe, NATO, would not be able to count on the U.S. entering the fight on their behalf and defending them. Can you believe that? And listen to who he cites for how he knows this. He cited a recent quote from Trump's current Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, who Ritter quoted as saying that the U.S. would only sell weapons technology to NATO in the event of such a war and attack, and would not honor Article 5 of our long-standing NATO treaty in defending our NATO allies against any such Russian nuclear attack. Of course, everyone, and let me talk to you directly, Ritter, you know that's a load of horse shit. That's a narrative coming from Putin. That's the narrative Putin wants out there anyway. Bullshit propaganda narrative. Just like those of you who try to say NATO is dead and they're just a paper tiger. Ritter, you're full of shit, and I'm calling you on it. Now, whether or not Ritter is actually a paid Putin influencer, like I said, if I had to cast one for a movie part, I'd probably want to cast him. Don't know for sure, but if he is, if he's not, he's still delivering major anti-American, Putin-approved propaganda. And when you tune in to any podcast with those who spout such Russian-friendly content, you might as well be listening to RT, Russian television, that's completely controlled by Putin. You listen to these kind of shills, these kind of hacks, that's who you might as well be tuned into, is RT, Russian television. And in closing, I need to add that it perplexes me to no end that this is going on to the degree that it is on CIA Tube with apparent total impunity and with no accountability being faced by those engaging in such pro-Russian propaganda who are advertising themselves as experts and doing so precisely because of their background in our own U.S. military and intelligence services. I don't know about you, but I assume the vast majority of you would agree that everything about that smells to high heaven, as they say. And it's not the exception on CIA Tube, to use their new name. It's become the rule all over it. And all over, like I said, the other main streaming and social media platforms who are prioritizing and amplifying such propaganda while shadow banning and suppressing honest, ethical, truth-to-power content like mine that seeks to expose the criminal corruption of the Epstein-class controlled system. All right, well, that's going to have to do it for this episode. We're running out of time. Thank you so much for tuning in to the program. Until next time, stay safe, and I'll talk to you then. Made your own bed, and now that Epstein's dead, Lady Karma's coming for you tonight. Cadabra, Karma's coming to grab ya. Cadabra, even Jesus can't save you. One more time. Karma's coming to grab ya. Cadabra, even Jesus can't save you. Cadabra, Karma's coming to grab ya. And the whole world says, fuck around and find out tonight.